Friday, and you know what that means. The Hudson Media Group proudly brings you the latest edition of Talking Politics. And certainly I am the generational talent in Garden State media, and certainly I'll continue to be the leader in trustworthy journalism, not just here in Hudson County, but throughout the state of New Jersey. That's right, folks. It's me, Fernando Uribe. Hope you're all having a wonderful month of January. Hope you got to enjoy Martin Luther King's birthday, one of our country's most sacred and noteworthy civil rights activists. And certainly, aside from having just a day off, hopefully we all took a moment to acknowledge the contributions of the late, great Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Of course, folks, there's a lot to discuss here, so let's get started. Here's what I'm thinking about right now. And a special thank you to John Robert Hines, the editor of the Hudson County Review, as well as a fellow Rutgers alumnus and a member of the Pinnacle for his reporting on this story. Now, Hudson County officials are discussing coming up with some countermeasures when it comes to ICE at the recent commissioner meeting. And again, a shout out to Dan Israel, one of the new journalists hired at the Hudson County Review, for also contributing to this story. Now, a statement from Hudson County Executive Craig Guy read as follows, and of course it was provided by his chief of staff, Jenny Davis, prompting passionate remarks from county officials and residents alike about the ICE aggression that's going on in the wake of an activist being killed in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Now, the incident certainly has sparked waves of protests across the country, including the most recent demonstration in front of City Hall a few Sundays ago. Quote, by now, we've all seen the tragic events in many American cities, including Minneapolis, Chicago, and towns right here in New Jersey. The New Jersey Attorney General guidelines outlined in the Immigrant Trust Directive prohibits local law enforcement from cooperating with federal immigration authorities, according to the statement by the county executive. Quote, as county executive, I have a standing agreement with the Hudson County Sheriff's Office to alert my administration and the Board of Commissioners if federal immigration authorities are conducting operations in our county parks and facilities. All county officials must and will work to ensure the safety of Hudson County residents. Now, when asked by County Commissioner Bill O'Day of the 2nd District how many times the Sheriff's Office has notified the County Executive's Office that there were ICE agents conducting operations in county buildings and parks, a representative from the Sheriff's Office said that, quote, many times the notification would go to the County Executive's Office. Now, O'Day countered that he doesn't remember getting any notifications in the past, to which Board Chair Anthony Romano from the 5th District noted that there was a recent transition from Sheriff Frank Scolari to Sheriff Jimmy Davis, a 3-term mayor of the city of Bayonne. Quote, to join in on Bill's comment, I don't ever remember seeing any notification that the federal government was sending an ICE in, obviously, to enforce whatever they think can be enforced in Hudson County. And to piggyback on top of that, I would certainly want to know that so our local law enforcement officers can be best advised of that and what the direction will be, according to Commissioner Al Cifelli out of the 9th District. Now, Jenny Davis further stated that ICE does not give advance warning of their presence to Hudson County before they perform a targeted enforcement action. Yes, folks, we saw that. If you remember at the beginning of last year, in January and February, you saw ICE agents in municipalities such as West New York, Union City, and Jersey City. Now, responding to O'Day, she added that there have been 2 or 4 emails in the past few months about ICE's presence locally, to which he clarified he remembered at least one of them, but has yet to observe any himself. Quote, it should be constantly provided to them, otherwise they're just going to go. I didn't realize that, I didn't know that, and look, I know where the county executive stands on it, so that's not in any way a critique of his. Now, according to Cifelli, while Trump has claimed that ICE is, quote, going after the worst of the worst to take murderers, rapists, and child abusers off the streets, which they have, and that's been documented, their own statistics and those from the Cato Institute show that nearly 72% of those detained from the streets do not have a criminal record. Well, folks, you get the gist of it. And again, thank you to Dan Israel and John Hines from the Hudson County Review for reporting on this story at the recent commissioners' meeting. Folks, I talked about it last week to kick off 2026, and I think it bears repeating again. Folks, I've been an adamant advocate about what ICE has been doing for some time now. Now, let's not lose sight of the fact that for whatever reason, and again, I don't want to get into sort of semantics here or an apples to oranges comparison, but what have we learned, folks, about ICE tactics and what's happened under different presidential administrations? Now, a little bit of a history lesson for all of you. As you recall, with the creation of the Department of Homeland Security in 2002, after the terrorist attacks by Islamic terrorists in 2001, the Department of Homeland Security started to consolidate certain federal agencies. And we saw that Before we used to think of INS, the Immigration and Naturalization Service. And then we used to think of Customs Enforcement. Well, that got consolidated into ICE, what is typically known today as Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And now it's these agents that have been going throughout this country for decades now in rounding up criminal illegals since the creation of the agency in 2003. Now, Presidents George W. Bush, Barack Obama, the first Donald Trump presidency, the presidency of Joe Biden, and now the second Trump presidency have all utilized ICE in some way, shape, or form. Now, yes, folks, the reporting on this has varied throughout the years. As we all know, in 2012, if I'm not mistaken, Barack Obama and his administration deported over 900,000 criminal illegals here, compared to, let's say, the first Trump administration, where you had somewhere over 200,000, and even in the second Trump administration, we're still seeing a little over 200,000 illegals being deported. Now, yes, folks, you're probably wondering, well, why not the outrage about Barack Obama? Well, folks, we've all seen it. A simple Google search or a simple search on YouTube takes us back to 2007, when he was on the debate stage with then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, former U.S. Senator Hillary Clinton out of the state of New York, when they were vying for the 2008 Democrat Party nomination for the presidency. And you all remember the famous words from that junior senator from the state of Illinois, Barack Obama, about how the Bush administration has dropped the ball with allowing more than 5 million illegals to come into the country. And what do we learn about the 8 years of Barack Obama? Well, folks, the name deporter-in-chief wasn't by accident. Now, yes, while some activist organizations would demonize the 44th president, well, we knew that certain institutions like the media, academia, the entertainment, and the arts community would never dare go against their golden boy. But what have we learned since he bestowed a Medal of Distinguished Service to Tom Homan, a border czar, who coincidentally is working not just during the first Trump administration, but now the second Trump administration? And we've literally seen, folks, the border being shut down after it being wide open for the last 4 years, where more than 10 million illegals flooded into the country under the administration of Joe Biden. But let's get back to the sort of the present day and about the hysteria when it comes to ICE. And yes, folks, you know what? As someone who's the son of immigrants and was born here, I get it. For the duration of my adult life or my entire existence, I never had to deal with parents that were not citizens. And I understand that that's a scary moment for a lot of people out there. I get it. And I understand that. And I don't have a magic wand that's going to just solve this problem overnight. But folks, I can tell you that what we've been seeing around the country has been the apprehension of some very dangerous criminal illegals. Now, unfortunately, yes, tragedies tend to be politicized. We've seen that in the last couple of weeks with the death of Renee Good out of Minneapolis. Was there as much outrage about the deaths of Laken Riley and Kate Steinle and others? Other Americans, not just white Americans, but Black Americans, brown Americans, male and female alike, who were victimized by criminal illegals. Was there ever a moment of silence in the halls of Congress for them? No, of course not. And again, folks, I don't want to sort of get into the apples to apples comparison here or the whataboutisms, because at the end of the day, that really doesn't help anybody. But what I can tell you is that, yes, two things can be true at the same time. I can support ICE, which I do, but I also support the notion that there needs to be more accountability. Folks, the idea that a mere 47 days is all that is required now to train ICE officers is completely unacceptable. Okay? I'm intellectually honest on this show, folks. Okay? And I'm morally consistent, which is a hell of a lot more than a lot of other journalists or wannabe journalists in New Jersey. But I want more accountability. As someone who worked in our criminal justice system, as someone who went into training himself a long time ago, I understand the importance of going to an academy, of learning the necessary skills and methodologies that comes with extensive training. Which is why when it comes to police officers, corrections officers, parole officers, you name it, folks, we're talking about a good 5 months, a good 20 to 25 weeks or 24 weeks of training for men and women that are choosing to pursue a career in law enforcement. The idea that we're only providing 47 days, folks, not 47 weeks, 47 days of training to ICE officers is unacceptable. And in many instances, we may not be recruiting the best candidates. Now, folks, that happens across all occupations. I don't want someone to turn around and be like, oh, there's Fernando being anti-law enforcement. No, that's not what I'm saying. But sure, I want more accountability, and there should be more accountability. Folks, 47 days isn't a long time. As someone who went through some training himself, I can tell you, for months at a time, you still don't even get all the training you really, really need. So it's hard to at least justify to someone like myself, who's been in the business of criminal justice, who's been in the business of law enforcement, to even think that 47 days is an acceptable number when it comes to training men and women for this specific agency. Now, I get it. There's a mass insistence about having ICE agents execute raids all across the country. And I get it. After the last 4 years, we saw an influx of millions of illegals. Some dangerous ones too, as we've come to learn. Never mind Laken Riley or Kate Steinle, but we've seen others and other incidents all across the country. But it doesn't mean we can't want accountability for our federal agencies. Don't we demand consistent training for our FBI agents? Of course we do. FBI agents are arguably the single most important, if not the most powerful law enforcement officers in the country. And if we expect and demand that sort of accountability when it comes to their training, we should want that for other agencies. Now, I get it. It's an attractive career right now. You get a $50,000 signing bonus. Okay, you get a really, really good starting pay. I get all that, folks. It's an attractive, destination for a new career. I get that. And we're seeing a lot of men and women across this country applying in record numbers for employment to ICE. But it doesn't mean we can't fine-tune the agency and make it more efficient and make it more competent and make it more effective and make it more professional. Because at the end of the day, that's what we want from law enforcement, don't we? Don't we want police tactics to be updated? Folks, aren't we all happy that law enforcement officers now have body cams on them? I can tell you, I, for one, here in New Jersey, am thrilled that cops have body cams. Because it not just only protects us, folks, it protects them as well. Because interactions with law enforcement aren't always pleasant. Now, if you want to say to me, hey, let's have body cams on ICE agents, cool, I'm for that. All I want is accountability. I don't want agents to just, stand there with their cell phone and take footage of arguably them, maybe being put in a life endangering situation or being put in a precarious position. I want accountability like anybody else. But by the same token, folks, two things can be true at the same time, as I said. And I get it. Hudson County commissioners and other legislative bodies in New Jersey or even around the country want more accountability. That's cool. Absolutely. But demonizing law enforcement isn't going to help either. So in fairness here, I think coming to the middle or on some sort of compromise isn't out of the range of possibility. Why not? It's reasonable. It's pragmatic. And folks, as a policy nerd, again, it makes sense. Now, whether or not that becomes a talking point when it comes to the upcoming possible federal government shutdown once again, or even later on this year when it comes to election season and the midterms, we should want some accountability of our federal agencies, especially in law enforcement. But don't get it twisted, folks. It's a tough job. And it's not helping when, again, as I said last week, and I'll say it again, when certain activists, and not a political party, because, again, there's bad apples in every political party. But when some feel the need to deputize others to try to be agitators and instigators, I get it. That optic doesn't work for people. It turns people off. But what should also turn people off is bad police practices. We lived through that, folks, 5 years ago after the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis, right? Where we wanted more accountability from our police, and that's a good thing. Again, first and foremost, wear body cams. We should want that. And we've seen the benefits of body cams ever since then. Yes, it's captured some Still very awful incidents between interactions as it pertains to the public and the police. I get all that. But let's have some accountability, but let's also have some common sense conversations about how to approach this. And I get it. Listen, I'm not going to win any of you over maybe with this talking point. But I hope that what I win you over with is the fact that, hey, at the end of the day, let's try to at least come to the middle here. Not just as policymakers, as activists, as academics, as journalists, as commentators. Let's at least try to meet in the middle about what could be effective law enforcement, but at the same time, somewhat compassionate and humane. Not the end of the world, I think, right? Now, we'll see if that becomes a talking point during this election season, whether it's for the midterms or even in 2028. Because certainly in the last few years, as I mentioned before, even go back to 2003, ICE has been a polarizing agency. Various presidential administrations, both Republicans and Democrats, have benefited from the usage of ICE and their mission statement. Now we'll see, again, because optics matter, folks. Okay, visuals matter. Now we'll see if maybe some modifications or some remedies or some Band-Aids are put on. Now, in some cases, they're puncture wounds, and sometimes a Band-Aid isn't really going to help you in that. But we'll see in the coming weeks, folks, when it comes to how ICE is being portrayed, and at the same time, how ICE conducts itself. It's a wait-and-see approach. But at the end of the day, folks, it's worth discussing in all circles. And that's what I'm thinking about right now. Now some local stories for your consideration, and let's continue to the Moscow city of Hoboken. And once again, a special thank you to John Hines from the Hudson County View for his reporting on this story. The Hoboken Council named 4th Ward Councilman Ruben Ramos, Council President, and 5th Ward Councilman, the charisma vacuum, Phil Cohen, as the Vice President at the recent reorganization meeting for the Hoboken City Council. Now, Ramos was nominated for president by recently re-elected Councilman-at-Large Joe Quintero. Interesting. I mean, I'm not sure if Joe was sober for that, but that remains to be seen. There were no other nominations prior to the unanimous vote of 9-0 for Ramos, and he was subsequently sworn in to that role. Ramos said, quote, "Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate it. I look forward to having a great year to work together." Now, 6th Ward Councilwoman Diane Imus, no relation to Don Imus, the former legendary shock jock with WFAN and WNBC Radio, nominated 2nd Ward Councilwoman Tiffany Fisher for Vice President, stating that she appreciates that there was even a vote on this matter. Quote, "We just came away from a very hopeful and meaningful inauguration where our mayor and our newest city council people spoke of a new direction. What really matters to me is that they spoke of a very good civil discourse. That really matters. Any number of people up here would be an excellent vice president, but what I value most for this spot is transparency, experience, and a demonstrated effort to build bridges, and since the runoff, so for that reason, I'd like to nominate Tiffany Fisher." While Fisher had the support of Imus, 1st Ward Councilman Paul Provenzano, and 3rd Ward Councilman Michael Russo, and of course herself, it was not enough. Cohen ultimately prevailed with the support of Councilman-at-Large Steve Firestone, Councilwoman-at-Large Caitlin Layson, Ramos, and himself. Now the reorganization follows the swearing in of Mayor Emily Jabor alongside Firestone, Layson, and Quintero at a ceremony earlier last week at the Stevens Institute of Technology. The same meeting, the governing body voted to appoint Arlene Quinones Perez as the new corporation counsel, as first reported by the Hudson County View. Well, folks, again, elections have consequences and egos have consequences. I argued last year that somehow if Tiffany Fisher, Ruben Ramos, and Mike Russo had put their egos aside and just circulated their efforts behind one candidate, we probably could have avoided the election of Emily Jabor. But now we're stuck with Emily, and we'll see how she governs. Now, of course, it doesn't help when you have charisma vacuums like Phil Cohen and party boys like Joe Quintero. Now, let's see if Hoboken can recover from the 8 disastrous years of Ravi Bala as the city's mayor. And of course, he's our problem in Trenton now as perhaps one of the more shitty human beings I've ever seen in my adult life. Ravi Bala is now the state assemblyman in the 32nd Legislative District. Now, Emily has a lot of work to do, folks. Whether it's property taxes, public safety, development, infrastructure, you name it, Ravi Bala left her a pile of shit in Hoboken. Let's see how she recovers, and let's see what she can do with it for the next 4 years. Now, if she doesn't, I'm pretty sure someone like Paul Provenzano and Mike Russo could be waiting on the horizon in 2029. But we're a long ways away from that, folks. But in the meantime, again, I can be cordial. I can be a gentleman. So congratulations to the new mayor of Hoboken, Emily Jabor. I don't think she'll be coming on my show, Real Talk, which, by the way, folks, you can catch every Monday night via Jersey First TV and, of course, all the Jersey First TV social media platforms. But I'll give it the old college try and try to talk to the mayor. But in the meantime, let's hope she gets some work done in Hoboken, because God knows the Moscow City desperately needs it. Now let's head to Jersey City. And once again, thank you to John Hines for his reporting on this story. And folks, once again, I can be a gentleman after some decorum here. Congratulations to James Solomon, who was sworn in last week as the 50th mayor of the city of Jersey City. Now, I had the privilege of being there at the Margaret Williams Theater on the campus of New Jersey City University. And once again, a special thank you to their president, Andres Acebo, the administration, and of course, the Solomon campaign for the press credentials to attend the inauguration. Now, certainly, folks, there are some members of the city council I don't really care for. We have Jake Efros and others, okay, who are just downright despicable socialists. But, you know, I got 4 years, so I'm sure I'll get some material with them. But regardless of the fact, folks, I had the privilege of being there and covering the inauguration of James Solomon, who, let's be fair, folks, after 12 years of Stephen Fulop, for many Jersey City residents, it was a breath of fresh air to know that Jersey is going in a different direction, and hopefully a more affordable one. Now, how about you, folks? I like to hang out in downtown Jersey City and parts of the Jersey City Heights. You won't catch me in the South Side or in Greenville. Hell no. But let me tell you, I enjoy going to Jersey City. But one of the things that concerns me, especially for all my friends that living there, is affordability. The idea, folks, of a 800 square foot apartment, one bedroom, can run you well over $2,000 is just not sustainable. It's pricing out lifelong Jersey City residents. And that was one of the biggest concerns on the campaign trail for James Solomon. And he came across very transparent and very personable. Now, here's a little bit of a disclaimer, folks. I've gotten to know James Solomon for many years. When he ran for the city council in 2017, I interviewed him on one of my previous podcasts that I was hosting with Block Talk Radio and also with Insider NJ. Now, I've gotten to know James Solomon pretty well. Yes, we'll argue sports because he's a Steelers fan and I'm a Cowboys fan, and we'll always have that fun banter as fans of the National Football League. When it comes to policies, well, we couldn't be more different. But I will say this about James. He's always been a gentleman. He's always been gracious, and he's always been willing to listen. So I appreciate that. And I appreciate the fact of even after the inauguration and going to White Eagle Hall for the celebration party, yeah, it was good to talk to the new mayor, shake his hand and say, hey, listen, James, whatever issues we've had, I know it's not you and me, it's been some of your staff. And listen, let's be honest, you have some assholes working for you. Okay? I don't mind saying that out loud. But at least with you and me, we've been gentlemen to each other for many, many years. And I respect you. And I want you to succeed. The last thing I want is Jersey City to further plunge into unaffordability and just, to be honest with you, a place people can't afford to live in. But I said, listen, James, I'll be fair to you. I want you to succeed. I want you to do well. I want you to be able to make Jersey City affordable, because God knows downtown, it's not affordable. And parts of the Heights, not affordable. Now, again, he's got a lot of work to do. He even said so in the press scrum right after the inauguration, which, again, I was fortunate enough to participate in. And you know what? To his credit, the mayor took one of my questions during the media scrum. Now, having said that, James Solomon has gotten right to work here. And I look forward to talking with him during his administration. There might be some hurdles I might have to jump through, some hoops I might have to sort of, dive through. But at the end of the day, I'm confident that the new mayor, the 50th mayor of Jersey City, will want to talk to credentialed journalists like myself and others. Certainly, we didn't see that level of transparency for the 12 years of Stephen Fulop. I'm pretty confident we'll see that with James Solomon. But right away, he got to work. And of course, right out on the first day, Mayor Solomon signed an executive order reestablishing a traffic enforcement division for the city's police department. Now, that's good. Quote, today we are sending a clear message. Protecting the people of Jersey City is this administration's top priority. From making our streets safer to rebuilding our police force, we are taking immediate concrete action. The people of Jersey City elected us to deliver results, and that work begins today. Now, the order mandates data-informed deployment focused on the Vision Zero High Injury Network, school zones, and areas with repeat crash patterns, as well as prioritize enforcement against speeding, reckless driving, impaired driving, distracted driving, dangerous parking, and similar violations. Now, the success will be measured by some clear metrics: reduction in traffic crashes, deaths, injuries, and property damage, along with an increased sense of safety and quality of life for all residents, according to the mayor's office. Additionally, Solomon announced that Jersey City will hire 30 new police officers through a new academy class in coordination with Hudson County. Now, the academy program is free for Hudson County municipalities, and funding for new hires is already budgeted. Once fully trained, new officers will be assigned to the patrol division, expanding visible foot patrols and returning officers to neighborhood-based assignments. God knows, folks, especially on the south side, Greenville, the west side, we need more cops. We need more foot patrol. We want residents to feel safe. It doesn't do any good for developers to go set up and build these ridiculous luxury rental apartments when, guess what? As soon as you get off the light rail, you just go straight home. You don't even want to go out. And trust me, I've seen that. I've walked on West Side Avenue. Okay, I've walked in Greenville. Don't ask me why. That's my business. Okay, or even on the south side. That's also my business. But the fact is, folks, you have to make the town affordable and also safe. And that's a good measure by someone like James Solomon, who I know that sometimes progressives get this bad rep about, oh, well, all they care about is defunding the police and hiring social workers to go to domestic violence disputes. I get all that, folks, and we'll see whether or not those concerns are warranted across the river in New York City with the new administration of Zohar Mamdani. But it doesn't seem to be the case with James Solomon. And of course, executive orders like this can go a long way in helping make Jersey City residents feel safer now more than ever. Lastly, folks, it's frigid, it's cold, it's snowy and icy. But mark it on your calendars for Friday night, April the 17th, as I bring you the 2026 edition of Memories Matter to benefit Alzheimer's New Jersey. Now, I'll be joined by a tremendous amount of hosts during the evening, and we'll be hosting the event at the world-famous Son Cubano, which is located along Riverwalk Place, along the waterfront in West New York. Folks will have valet parking, wonderful prizes being raffled off, excellent networking opportunities, and of course, DJ Ziggy Roman will be providing the music and the great vibe all throughout the evening, with proceeds benefiting Alzheimer's New Jersey. And we're asking for a modest $20 donation at the door. And trust me, folks, it'll be a good-looking crowd, and we'll be partying for such a great cause. And I'm proud to partner with Alzheimer's New Jersey, and I've been doing so for a good amount of years now. Whether it's with President Kenneth Zanes and the great executive board, trust me, folks, I'm going to do my part to help defeat Alzheimer's once and for all. And we can do that. So mark on your calendars. And while we're warm inside our homes right now, we're hoping it gets warmer in the coming months ahead. Trust me, on Friday night, April the 17th, we'll be partying for Alzheimer's New Jersey to help combat Alzheimer's and dementia in our communities and ultimately to defeat it once and for all. And that's our show for this week. Once again, I want to thank the Hudson Media Group, being the leader in fearless independent media here in Hudson County, for their belief in my brand of award-winning journalism. I want to thank specifically the CEO and President, Patrick O'Malley, for his belief in my brand of journalism, as well as the best staff in the world that I get to work with every single week here with the Hudson Media Group. Make sure you like them on Facebook, of course, follow them on Instagram and X, and don't forget to subscribe to their YouTube channel, where you can check out not just only Talking Politics, but other great programming we bring you every single week, whether it's Hudson County View Live with John Robert Hines, Stick at Night with Hudson County Commissioner Anthony Romano, or of course, the hardworking young men and women from North Bergen High School, led by Greta Hernandez. Folks, we're bringing you topics and conversations you only get right here with the Hudson Media Group. Always remember, folks, if it's unbiased, unfiltered, and unafraid, it's Talking Politics with the Hudson Media Group. I am the generational talent in Garden State Media, and certainly your leader for trustworthy journalism. That's right, it's me, Fernando Uribe. Please party responsibly, folks. Please stay warm. Look after your elderly neighbors. Again, be careful with school walk crossings, again, as you're driving to work in the morning, driving home, again, let's make sure our kids are safe every single day. And of course, folks, we appreciate you stopping by and making this a part of your weekly viewing here with the Hudson Media Group. I'm Fernando Uribe. Thank you so much for watching.